Jesus is the key. We are told in religion that prayer and fasting are the keys. But when I began to understand the finished work of Christ and I began to grow in the knowledge of the finished work of Christ, and I noticed that truly what they told us in religion is false. Prayer is not the key. Fasting is not the key. Jesus remained the key, and he is the master key. Revelation chapter 3 verse 7 to 10 say, I will locked and no one will open, and when I open and no one will shut. So he remained the master key. Remember, he collected the keys of life and death from Satan. So Jesus truly is the key, not the prayer. When you begin to grow in the knowledge of the finished work of Christ, every closed door will be open and you have access into God's presence. So when we're talking about key, we're talking about access to divine authority, access to the throne of grace, access into the presence of God. So that is what key really represents. Key gives us access. Access. So Jesus is the only access that we need to access our inheritance in Christ Jesus. Don't forget to like and subscribe.